Right now, you're watching two videos at the same time. One shot on Galaxy S24 Ultra, while the other one is shot on S26 Ultra. And if you're having a hard time figuring out which is which, this video is for you. So Samsung definitely wants you to upgrade. I just want you to make the right call. So I packed both phones, flew to Leh, and spent a week in one of the most demanding environment on the planet. Because if you're going to spend a fortune on a phone, I think it deserves more than a desk test. That is why here we are in Ladakh. Right now we are at Changla Pass, which is around at 17,000 feet, and it has started snowing as well. It's going to be fun. So by the end of this video, I'll tell you who should upgrade, who should hold on, and who should just go and buy a refurbished S24 Ultra. But I need to start with one feature around which Samsung built the whole campaign, because it has a problem. See, the idea is genuinely cool. You're out in public and someone is sitting right next to you and you don't want them reading your messages. So Samsung built a display that makes the screen unreadable from the sides. And it works in a way, but there are situations where it just falls apart. The people who are actually nosy, the ones you're worried about, they don't sit at an angle. They sit close, probably right next to you, and at that distance, they can see everything. The angle this screen blocks is the angle of someone who is never really trying to look. And if someone is watching over your shoulder, which is the most common real-world scenario, sadly, privacy display does nothing. Now, I'm not saying that this is a bad feature. I just think that this needed one more generation in the lab before Samsung made it the centerpiece of their global campaign. If they had quietly released this as, hey, here's a cool new thing that we're trying, I would be genuinely impressed. I think the problem is not with the feature, but what it promises. Anyway, we're going to Ladakh. And before we get there, let me quickly run you through what's actually different between these two phones on paper. Because the spec sheet tells one story and the real world tells another. On camera, the S26 Ultra gets a 50 megapixel ultra wide. The S24 Ultra has 12 megapixel. That's not a small jump. We'll see that difference clearly in Ladakh. The main camera now has a wider aperture, which is f1.4. Better for low lights, better for night shots. So let me tell you a thing or two about lenses and aperture. So this is how it looks at f22, and let's suppose I open it. You see how it's opening up? This is how it looks at f1.5. So the more it opens up, the more light passes through it and better it becomes in low light. Also, I got the S24 Ultra second hand for 53,000, which by the way is exactly the kind of conversation I had in my M1 Pro versus M5 Pro video. The link would be somewhere here if you want to check that out. I'm so sorry, I need to figure all this link thing out. I'm very new to YouTube, so please bear with me. And now, since we are in this beautiful land of Ladakh and it's very windy, I should just stop talking and show you guys what this camera is actually capable of. The S24 Ultra is still excellent. Colors are vivid, details is sharp. You look at all these photos and you think, yeah, that's a great phone camera. The S26 Ultra, the first thing I noticed is that Samsung toned it down a little. The colors are slightly more natural, a little less Instagram out of the box. Is one objectively better? In good light, it's honestly very hard to tell. Now comes the Ultrawide. This is where the difference stops being subtle. So the most immediate difference is how the sensor handles the sunlight. On the S24 Ultra, there is a noticeable bloom or haziness around the skylight frame. The sky itself looks a bit more washed out, and the transition from bright glass to the concrete beams is a bit harsh. Whereas on the S26 Ultra, Samsung has clearly redefined its HDR algorithm. The blue in the sky is deeper and more saturated without looking fake. More importantly, the highlight roll-off in S26 Ultra is much better, and also there's no green tint as compared to S24 Ultra. Take the example of the photos. The S26 Ultra beats the S24 Ultra by a mile. It is brighter, has more details, thanks to the 50 megapixel 1.9 lens. So if you are someone who shoots a lot of wide shot, architecture, travel content, landscape, this upgrade is alone worth paying attention to. However, personally, I felt that anything about 10x can be a hit or miss. Take these two examples. The photo at 100x seems like an AI slog. But in the 3x to 30x range, where most of the people actually shoot, both of the devices are genuinely impressive. The S26 edges ahead in the low light at zoom. The aperture upgrade here shows up. So if you are someone who loves to shoot raw, you won't get disappointed. I really like the results that I'm getting here. Samsung added something interesting for portraits shot in backlit condition. Essentially, the phone's AI acts as a reflector. It analyzes the light hitting your face from behind and tries to fill in the shadow from the front. In Ladakh, where you have almost always got the sun fighting you, I tested this pretty extensively. It genuinely works and is just not a gimmick. The face details comes through without blowing out the background. If you shoot portraits, outdoors, this is a practical upgrade. The S26 Ultra has a feature called Horizon Lock in the video mode. And this is what it looks like in real life. I can move my phone as much as I want, but the horizon stays straight. What surprises me is that Samsung can nail this feature so easily, but somehow they can't find a way to record moment instantly. Let me explain. Right now I have an S26 Ultra and an iPhone 17 Pro mounted here. I press record on both the phone at same time, but the result is completely different. Samsung just decides not to record the first second altogether. And to make sure, I tried it multiple times, but the results were almost same. It's just not limited to video. Indoor shots of anything moving, a hand, a person walking, kid, came out a blurry mess. And when you understand why, it's almost more frustrating than the problem itself. So the shutter button on the Samsung does two things. Press once to take a photo, press and hold for burst of video. So when you press the shutter, the camera sits there and waits to figure out what you actually want. And it won't capture the image until you have already lifted your fingers off the button. Every other phone on the planet snaps the photo the moment you press down. Samsung snaps it the moment you let go. Was I able to find a fix? Yes. You need to go to the Galaxy Store, download an app called Good Lock, install a plugin inside it called Camera Assistant, and turn on a setting called Quick Tap Shutter. And that is 4 steps to make a shutter button work like a shutter button. Samsung built one of the most capable camera system on smartphone, and then they shipped it with a shutter that needs a plugin to behave normally. I'm not saying it's difficult to fix, I'm just saying a phone that expensive shouldn't need fixing. In terms of video capability, you get 4K 60 on all lenses. You also get 4K 120 on the main and the wide lenses, but not on teles. And if you are a slow moho, don't worry, you have a 1080 240 also. There's 8K 30 as well, and I'll be honest, most of you are not editing 8K, but if you are, the details are there. But what I paid more attention was the thermal performance of the phone. How does the phone cope up with the continuous recording in an environment like Ladakh? The S26 Ultra stayed cooler longer as compared to S24 Ultra, but after a point, it does get noticeably warm. The S26 Ultra shoots in log format, which gives you much more control when grading footage in post. There is an APV format as well, which gives you the same quality as ProRes 422. And I've shot some log footage in Ladakh and the footage does surprise me. However, there is a caveat. As soon as you switch to tele-lens, the footage starts falling apart. It starts looking very muddy and soft, almost as if it was a tad bit out of focus, especially compared to iPhone log. So there's this one thing that I realized while shooting here, which is the main sensor on the S26 Ultra and the main sensor on the iPhone 17 Pro are very similar in size. Now I know that this is 50 megapixel and this is 200 megapixel. Now these numbers, they do look world apart, but sensor size is what really drives image quality. And side by side, the gap between Samsung and Apple is smaller than most people expect or want to admit. Not gonna lie, but this camera app has certainly surprised me. You can do everything in the app itself, and you don't have to download any third-party app like Blackmagic for iPhone 17 Pro. And as someone who shoots 90% of the time on the iPhone, I feel jealous. There's no doubt that the S26 Ultra has more camera feature than any Ultra ever made. Better ultra-wide, better aperture, APV codec, AI fill light, analog shoot. But there's this one thing that they took away and I can't happen to get over it. It's the Bluetooth feature of the S Pen, which meant you could press the button on the pen and trigger the camera shutter remotely. It sounds small, but I know so many people who regularly use it. Sadly, it's no more. See, I won't be surprised if they even take away the S Pen from the next S series. Now let's talk about the display, because both of these screens are gorgeous. 6.9-inch AMOLED, 120Hz Quad HD. Outdoors in Ladakh, both get bright enough that I never had to manually crank them. But there's something under the surface of S26 Ultra's display that I think you should know. First, Samsung marketed this as a 10-bit display, a proper upgrade over every previous Galaxy S phone. Sadly, it's a 8-bit panel and not a 10-bit panel. What Samsung is doing is a trick called FRC. Imagine you're painting and you don't have exact purple you need. So instead of getting the purple, you flicker blue and red back and forth so fast that the viewer's eye blends them into purple. That's FRC, and it's exactly what's happening on this screen. You can clearly see the color banding on Galaxy S24 Ultra's display. So it's obvious that S26 Ultra is exhibiting 10-bit colors. But in testing, I couldn't actually see the flickering pixels the way we can on every other phone that uses FRC. So Samsung may have found a smarter algorithm that hides it better, and here's a strong reason why I think so. Look carefully. The edges of the video show color banding on S26 Ultra, meaning the YouTube app's background is an 8-bit gradient while the video itself is displaying 10-bit color. And that is what I'm talking about, an 8-bit panel exhibiting a 10-bit colors without using FRC. And then there's a second thing, and this has been Samsung's problem for years, that is how they control the brightness. Take out your phone right now and turn the flashlight on. Now imagine it flickering on and off hundreds of times per second, too fast for you to see it happening. Your eyes wouldn't notice the flicker consciously, but they would still feel it. That exactly is what your phone screen is doing when it dims. OLED screens don't actually turn the light down to get dimmer. They flash it on and off hundreds of times per second, faster than your eyes can consciously track. This is called PWM. Pulse width modulation. The faster it flickers, the smoother it feels to your eyes. The slower it flickers, the more your eyes and your brain have to work to keep it up. So Samsung runs this at 480 flickers per second on the new S26 Ultra. And you would say, oh, that's a good number. But wait, iQOO uses the same Samsung panel in a different phone and runs it at 2160 flickers per second. That is 4 times faster than S26 Ultra. That is why some people get headaches from newer Samsung phones but were totally fine on their old Galaxy devices. If bright screens give you headache, I'm really sorry, but this is gonna hurt. Now coming to the performance, the S24 Ultra runs on the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. The S26 Ultra run on the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. That's a full 2-chip generation apart. And let me say this clearly, the S24 Ultra is not slow. In 2026, it handles everything you throw at it. Apps, multitasking, video editing, gaming, it keeps up. The gap between the 2 chips shows at the edges. So if you are someone who is a heavy user, and when I say heavy user, I mean you're using your device for more than 10 hours a day, then you might feel the difference between the two. For most people, the S24 Ultra would not feel slow. In terms of battery, both phones have the same exact 5000 mAh battery. Samsung has kept this number flat for several generations now. And the major difference between the two is in charging. The wired charging on S24 Ultra is at 45 watt, whereas it's 60 at S26 Ultra. Samsung calls it super fast charging 3.0. In real numbers, the S26 Ultra gets to about 75% in 30 minutes. The S24 Ultra gets to about 68% in the same time. That's the difference you'll feel on the mornings when you rush into work and you forgot to charge your device overnight. Wireless charging also got a bump from 15 watt to 25 watts. But the battery life difference between these two phones on a day-to-day level is very small. So 2 years and a difference of around 70,000. So the next question is, who should really upgrade? The S26 Ultra is more refined phone, lighter, faster, better video tools, faster charging, and one genuinely clever display trick, even if Samsung overpromised it. The S24 Ultra is more complete phone in a way, titanium build, Bluetooth S Pen, and you can find it refurbished for around 50 to 60,000 right now. Here's who should upgrade to the S26 Ultra. If you create video content, reels, vlogs, anything moving, the ultrawide jump, horizon lock, and APV codecs makes a genuine case. If you're coming from S22 Ultra or older, there should be no hesitation. If you're switching from iPhone or a non-Samsung Android, the S26 Ultra makes sense. You get 7 years of update and a solid ecosystem. But here's who should hold on. If you shoot mostly photos in good light, the S24 Ultra is still excellent, the gap is narrow. If you charge overnight and your phone gets you through the day, the charging speed upgrade won't feel life-changing. You should not upgrade if S24 Ultra doesn't feel slow to you, because it isn't. I came to Ladakh expecting to be impressed, and I was, just not the way Samsung's marketing team intended. And guys, for most of you people, S24 Ultra is more than enough. It would just cut right. So stay curious, stay grounded, and I'll see you in the next one.